she gets here.
Oh, no! The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me?
That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done?
Crazy Cootie coming at you.
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again!
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
Whoa!
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Great afternoon, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling in studio today with my producer, Alex Heward. Alex, yesterday, what a big day.
Mm-hmm.
Third straight win for the Tigers. And playing the Cardinals, right? At it again. Well, it will be the third straight win if they finish it off today, I should say, because they won Sunday, Anaheim. And we had a stunning outcome in Stanley Cup playoffs. Everyone thought, well, okay, Montreal, the cute little show. They're going to go out to Vegas and get pounded. And instead, Canadians won 4-1, take a 3-2 lead back to the Bell Center, try to finish that upset, move on to Stanley Cup Finals. And then we had an unbelievable finish to the NBA Game 2 in the Western Conference Final. You have 0.9 to go. You don't expect you're going to have not only a basket, but time for another shot after that. Mm-hmm. And a masterful play design, I think allowed because of a review, and enabled Phoenix to pull off that win with the dunk by DeAndre Ayton, one of the best screens I've ever seen that Devin Booker set, too. And then probably the highlight of all is the NBA Draft Lottery. And for the first time since 1970, the Detroit Pistons will have the number one overall selection in the draft. Hello, Cade. Want to welcome in, as we do each week at this time, Carlton Valentine, MSU basketball forward from the mid to late 1980s, two-time state champion coach, Lansing Sexton, outstanding teacher of the game, and post-Father's Day, he is the dad of Drew and Denzel Valentine, head coach at Loyola Chicago, and guard for the Chicago Bulls. How you doing, V?
I'm doing great, Jack. How you doing, man? Like you said, it's been a great week in sports. But what a day yesterday, man! Capped by the Pistons getting the number one overall pick in the draft lottery. Yeah, man, what a day! What a day!
Well, let's start there because actually that took place just before Game 2 in the West. And the way it was set up now, they've expanded it to 4 teams getting balls selected and then the others fall in line. But all 3 of the worst teams last season in the NBA have the same percentage. Pistons had a 14% chance to get the number one pick and a 52% chance to finish in the top 4. Did exactly that. B, what does that mean to a franchise?
Well, it could be franchise changing with the right pick, and if the pick pans out, it could be just. At first, I think it does something for the fan base. Yeah, it does something for the city of Detroit. It does something. I mean, it gets everybody excited. We got the number one overall pick coming. I mean, I can't remember the last time the Pistons had the number one overall pick. You would know that.
41 years ago.
Yeah, it probably was Bob Lanier.
It was, absolutely.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I took a wild guess. But I remember Bob Lanier was number one overall pick.
Yeah,
I think that it's going to be Cade Cunningham. I mean, we got a large sample size of Cade Cunningham this year.
Yeah,
playing Oklahoma State. He's the kind of player that can help turn around a franchise.
Yeah, exactly what does he do for those who haven't had a lot of chance to watch him? We have, but 6'8", handles the ball very well, He could be Luka Doncic style point guard. I'm not saying he's Luka Doncic, but he could be that kind of a big point guard. I don't want to say he's like Magic. I wouldn't want to put that on anybody, but he can do a lot of those things. He seems to be a clutch shooter, a willing shooter, Ben Simmons, and a lot of things that he can do that's proven he can win.
Yeah, you said it pretty much, Jack. He's a big guard. I mean, I was at the NCAA tournament. I happened to be in the elevator when Cade Cunningham was. I was going to visit Drew, but they wouldn't let us in there. But I was in the elevator. Cade Cunningham was coming out. Mm-hmm. He's a legit 6'8". If he's closer to 6'9", so he's like you said, like a Magic. I watched him. He can do everything. I mean, he can shoot the ball. He can pass the ball. But the thing he does best is he makes everybody around him better. And that seems to be the consensus when you talk about a basketball player who can help turn a franchise. It's somebody who can make everybody else better, plus he can get his own shot and score. A long, lengthy defender. He rebounds the ball. He just puts a lot of pressure on the defense because he can push the ball as well. So if they draft him, they're drafting probably the best player in the draft, no doubt.
And you say if they draft him, and a lot of people thought it was a done deal, an automatic, but in his press conference after the draft last night, Troy Weaver, who's made a lot of pretty good decisions in his year on the job, said that they're going to look at 3 or 4 people, and they're going to spend a lot of time evaluating. People think that's Evan Mobley and Jalen Green, not Jalen Suggs. And Green is really rising up the draft boards with some of his workouts. But what do you think about that, and how much difference is there between those guys and Cade Cunningham, and do you dare draft for positional needs at that point?
I think that Troy Weaver is just doing his due diligence as a general manager. I think you have to do that. You can't come out and say, hey, we're drafting Cade Cunningham and not go through the process of looking at the other candidates. Evan Mobley, I have a large sample size of him too at USC, 6'11", 7-foot guy who can shoot the three. The knock on him is he's not aggressive all the time, and he's not. There's times where he disappears in games. Right. Jalen Green he's a dog, to put it simple. He attacks the rim. He can shoot the three. His best asset is getting to the basket, getting to the foul line. A really good defender, super athletic, bouncy guy. So those will be the top 3, and then Jalen Suggs as the 4th prospect.
Right.
But and we all know what he can do. We saw him play. But Cade Cunningham, I think, has separated himself away from the group just based on his body of work and how he handles himself. I mean, his interviews he interviews like a 10-year vet. Like he's got the right people around him telling him the right things to say, and that's not always the case.
Yeah. Are they close enough, V, that if the right offer came, the Pistons could entertain that, or is it just a matter of this is your one chance in, well, it's been 41 years, but in a decade or two, certainly. You hope you don't get the number 1 pick too often. And they have to make the most of this.
I think you have to entertain every offer because, I mean, what if they put a Dame Lillard on the table?
Yeah.
You just
would you take that? If you were the Pistons, would you take Dame Lillard for the number 1 pick?
I mean that's a no-brainer to me because you're taking somebody who's proven versus someone who's unproven. So that's why I say Troy Weaver is doing he got to do his due diligence and just look at every offer, look at every prospect before you just come out and say it's a done deal. It's not like, you're taking Shaquille O'Neal number 1 overall, like that's a slam dunk, you know what I mean? But I think he's doing what he's got to do.
I want to give you 8 names, V, and tell me what these guys have in common. Kwame Brown, Andrew Bogut, Andre Bargnani, Greg Oden, Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins, Ben Simmons, and Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, all NBA first round overall number 1 picks.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the last 20 drafts, those 8 guys, so that's 40% of the overall number 1 picks were washouts or, in the case of Simmons, major disappointment this year. The others, I think you could say their NBA careers, and Andrew Wiggins has had some moments, but hasn't played like a number 1 overall selection. And the others have been pretty disastrous choices. And over the past 8 years, 4 of the 8, so 50% in the last 8 years, have been duds. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go against the statistics, but I mean, I think in this case here, you kind of got to go with that guy. That's why I said, you know, Troy Weaver is going to do his due diligence.
Yeah.
And look at he's going to entertain every offer.
Yeah.
I think he's got to entertain every offer. I think he's got to look at every prospect. You got to bring him in. You got to do the interviews. Pre-draft camp, I think, is coming up real soon. It might be this week, by the way. I'm not sure.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
But, the NBA pre-draft camp, I know it's coming up. So,
in fact, all the top prospects were there last night. The interviews you did were from the pre-draft camp getting ready.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting what you said about all of those overall number 1 picks, man. A lot of those guys, some of those guys were injury prone.
Yep.
A lot of different things happened. You know, that Greg Oden thing was just freaky. It reminded me of the Sam Bowie thing. You know what I mean? So,
but think about the Portland Trail Blazers, V. Back in 1984, they have the number 2 pick. Everybody wanted Hakeem Olajuwon. They couldn't get him, but with the second pick, they were very happy to have Sam Bowie, who was hurt his entire career, and next pick was Michael Jordan. You think about 2006 and 2007, actually. It would have been the 2006-2007 season for Greg Oden. So Portland back in it. They take Oden. They think, okay, we got our franchise center, and didn't work out, but the second pick was Kevin Durant. So you wonder how the fortunes of the Trailblazers franchise would have been better. Much better, I think, if you add Durant and MJ to the history and championships. They still haven't had one since Bill Walton. But I was having a dispute, or at least a disagreement with someone last night who said that you wouldn't trade this pick regardless. I was thinking that this is LeBron James. I said, Cade's good, but he's not LeBron James. And I think that if Philadelphia, wanting to shake things up there, put Joel Embiid on the table. Now, he's had some injury issues, but he's a runner-up as MVP. If Dame Lillard was on the table, if Boston somehow said, we want to start over and we're going to move Jason Tatum, you never say never. And there are a couple of teams with multiple first-round picks, Orlando, and a pretty high pick there, too. Golden State has a top 10 pick, another pick in the in the lottery. And you put 2 first-round picks and a starter in the mix, would you consider moving down in the draft, getting more players, and getting an experienced veteran, too? Yeah, that's why you never say never. Because that was one of the first things I said. If Dame Lillard's on the table, like you said, or Joel Embiid, or Jason Tatum, or a player, one of those guys, it definitely will shake things up a lot. And like you said, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Cade is good, but Cade ain't Magic. You know what I mean? Cade ain't Shaq. Cade's not LeBron. Like me and the boys were talking about this on Father's Day, and like we were talking about, like, in your lifetime, who are players that you have seen that have changed the game that you won't see in the last 10 or 15 years? And I told Drew, I said, when I saw LeBron James, I knew that he was different right away. I said that, I saw Kobe Bryant, but
I saw Michael Jordan, so Kobe Bryant didn't look any different.
Mm-hmm.
He just looked special.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said Shaquille O'Neal was definitely a guy who who was down, because I did not see wilt during my lifetime.
Right.
My eyes didn't see wilt.
Yeah.
So I said Shaq. I said LeBron. I said, and then Kevin Durant is super freaky. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy that tall, that dude play the way he did. That game on Saturday night was just incredible. I mean, come on, Jack.
Yeah. It was amazing. I want to talk about that in just a second, but I got a story for you about a couple of those guys you mentioned, and saw Kevin Durant in high school and in a camp setting. And I said, you can have everybody else here. I'll take that really skinny kid. And I also saw Kobe Bryant coming out of high school, and they had an all-star game. It was the U.S. versus the world, and it was at the Palace. They brought in players from all over the country, and Kevin Durant was there, and Kobe. And I thought Kobe is another, spectacular wing guy who can dunk it. Never thought he would have the consistency he had, but the thing that impressed me so much, I'll never forget this. They said, you can interview anyone you want. Who do you want? And I said, well, give me Kobe Bryant. And I knew a little bit about his dad, Jelly Bean. So I'm talking to him, and I said, this guy cannot be 18. He's got to be 28. He was so mature. He spoke 7 languages. He was more articulate than anyone in the media who was covering him. And then when you get the athletic ability on top of it, you see why it's such a special package.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned over the years to love and respect Kobe, but like right off sight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming off MJ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's coming off the MJ era, and to me, I mean, you got to be something pretty special to be different from MJ at that wing position.
Right. All right. You mentioned what Kevin Durant did in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, and that loss at home. Home team finally lost. Brooklyn fell to Milwaukee in a classic game, 20 lead changes. And when Durant was asked after the game about the shot that tied it, that Marv Albert said was a 3, but it was not. It was a 2. And Kevin said, yeah, it was my big-ass foot. And if he hadn't had that big shoe, a little smaller, now he's not going to wear a size 6, but if he had a shoe that was, a little smaller, then Milwaukee be out.
Yeah, it's crazy though. I remember us talking last week, and I said, I could picture Milwaukee and Atlanta, and I told my wife, I said, it's going to be Milwaukee and Atlanta. I said, I told Jack that. She's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah,
I said,
you did.
I said, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I said, Milwaukee and Atlanta.
Yeah.
But that Durant performance was something. I mean,
53 minutes, V. 53 minutes.
I can't imagine how he felt, and I know he missed that last shot. It was a tough shot, but I mean, without him, they're not in a position even to compete in that game. What a gutsy performance from a guy who gave his all to his team.
Yeah.
The whole series. I mean, he had a 49-point triple-double.
Yeah.
which is unheard. Got to be unheard. I've never heard of that. A 49-point triple-double, and then gave his team everything he had down to the last shot. So, wow, that's all I got to say.
And you mentioned Milwaukee and Atlanta, and Trae Young was way off for most of the game, but then he hit some big shots down the stretch. One thing he's never going to stop shooting. And you're Doc Rivers. What do you do about Ben Simmons?
That's tough, man.
4 straight games now, and he won't take a shot. Okay.
Yeah.
And he passed up a dunk.
So this is what I heard about Ben Simmons, and this is what I heard from a really, really reliable source close to that Philadelphia organization.
Yeah.
Someone who played in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He said that Ben Simmons, the first thing about Ben Simmons is that he doesn't listen to anybody. that he doesn't listen.
Yeah.
The second thing is that he doesn't work very hard. And the third thing is that he's very coddled and he's babied. And all the people around him are yes men.
Now, there's another example, V, of a guy everyone thought he was the unanimous number one. You had to take him, and they did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, and teams were actually tanking to get him.
Yeah.
So, once again, no guarantee, but Atlanta moves on. How do you see that series beginning tonight?
I mean, how do you guard Trae Young?
How do you go against Giannis?
And that's what Zell and I talked today about him. He's like, Zell thinks that Milwaukee's going to win the series. He said that Milwaukee's just too big.
Yeah.
Because they start Brook Lopez. Like, what do you do with Brook Lopez and Giannis? And then Chris Middleton scoring the way he's scoring. He's like, what do you do with that? He's like, nah. He said Milwaukee in 6.
Ooh. That was a tremendous block shot by Brook Lopez. A lot of people might have missed that, but that block shot on Durant in overtime was massive.
Yes, so. Durant he drove to the left and tried to use the left-hand scoop. And, I mean, that length is something that Milwaukee has. So, I hope that Milwaukee wins. What I really hope is that Brent plays great and Milwaukee wins. How's that?
There you go. Well, he's got to play the way he did against Miami when he was such a factor and outscored Jimmy Butler, and he was almost invisible. It seemed like Budenholzer would play him, and he let him miss a shot, and if he didn't do anything in the first 2 minutes, he was done for the night.
Yeah, well, he really, really shortened his rotation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you notice that, he was playing 6, maybe 7 guys.
And Bobby Portis is on the bench, too, and doing nothing.
Right, BP was out. Yeah. So, and then, Dante's hurt, DiVincenzo.
Right.
So, yeah, I felt bad for BP because he had been in that rotation. He started a bunch of games this year and had been playing. That was one of Zell's old teammates with Chicago. So, we were pretty tight with BP, and then we always want Bren to win. So,
sure.
Yeah, you were right about Bud, man. He had a really, really tight leash and rotation, and his guys were playing heavy minutes as well.
He was coaching for his job the other night. I mean, I think that if Durant shot had been a 3, he'd have been unemployed. But last question for you. The play that Ayton made last night on the dunk, what percentage play is that, and is there anything that the Clippers could have done differently to defend that?
I mean, that was a hell of a pick.
Yeah, it was a hell of a pick.
It was a hell of a pick. The one thing I said, well, it's almost basketball 101, and I'm not a college coach or an NBA coach, but the one thing I know with point something to go is that you need to protect the rim. It's going to be a lob play.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a lob play. So if someone makes a long shot, it's because they make a long shot. But you want to protect the rim, especially with a 1-point lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, hey, I would have got a 7-footer, and I would have said Zubac protect the rim.
Yeah.
Well,
they put DeMarcus Cousins in, and he didn't do anything about the inbounds pass. They played it pretty straight up. You have to defend that angle and position yourself between the inbounder and the rim. And he wasn't lined up that way. But I was reminded, V, of the end of the Michigan-UCLA game. And Michigan was in the exact same situation. And instead of a play to the rim, they had a lot of options there. They threw the ball 24 feet out and made Franz Wagner try a desperation heave that was nowhere close. And I don't know if they did try to play at the rim. You can always get fouled. Lots of things can happen.
Yeah, it's I never lost a game from my couch. I'm undefeated. So.
B, thanks so much for joining us. Tell Kathy I'm sorry that Paul George was the one who missed those free throws last night.
Oh, you shouldn't say that. You might be in trouble.
I'm going to be in big trouble, right?
That's right.
Yeah, great player, but it just shows you about foul shots, nothing free. Thanks so much.
Right.
We'll be right back, and Tom Lang is in studio for The Long Drive, and he has a couple taped interviews, and we're going to talk about the U.S. Open up next on The Drive with Jack.
Did you know you don't need any experience to apply at Dean Transportation? Because Dean provides free CDL training for their new bus drivers, and they will pay to train. Dean Transportation is hiring caring and dependable people as school bus drivers in Lansing and surrounding areas. Train for a rewarding career and safely transport children to and from school with Dean. Positions are currently available for the right candidates. Excellent driving history is required. You will earn $15.20 to $16.20 per hour, depending on location. Dean also offers their drivers a competitive benefits package, including health insurance, 401k, and paid time off, plus flexible scheduling and advancement opportunities with their growing company. Dean Transportation will train you to be a professional school bus driver for your community. Apply today. For more information and to apply, visit deantransportation.com/jobs. That's DEAN, transportation.com/jobs. Dean Transportation is an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome to Be the Referee with MHSAA Assistant Director Brent Rice.
After an uproar about officiating in a recent pro football game, an online article appeared with the headline, "Why in the world would anyone want to be a referee?" It's a good question. While everyone in the game, players, coaches, and officials, strive for perfection, only the officials are ultimately expected to reach that standard, and that's simply not fair. So why would anyone want to be a referee? Every referee will give you 3 little words: I love it. They love it because they know how important it is, no matter the level of play. And they want to be right all the time, and most of the time they are. And like a lot of other things in sports, the friendships and relationships built, the memories, they can't be beat. So we'll all encourage people to join us as referees, and for those of you who can't or won't, to stay in your lane when at the game.
Thanks, Brent. You can be a referee. Go online now to register at MHSAA.com. Be the Referee is a production of the MHSAA Network.
Thinking of a new air conditioning unit for your home? Hi, Peggy Doty with Doty Mechanical. A new Carrier high-efficiency AC unit will lower your energy usage and increase your home comfort. Current Carrier Cool Cash offers and available utility rebates mean your savings have never been better.
Call Doty Mechanical today at 327-7777 or visit us at dotymechanical.com for your free estimate. For heating and cooling, the names to know, Doty Mechanical and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Live across the Great Lakes State, you're connected to Michigan's most engaging and influential radio and television program, Michigan's Big Show, starring Michael Patrick Shields.
Great to be with you, Michael Patrick. You're the show I would want to be on. Forget those other ones.
Michael Patrick, it's always a pleasure to be on the air with the King of the Airwaves. Thanks for having me on again.
That's a very good question.
Those are all great questions. Good morning.
Thank you. Michigan's Michael Patrick Shields.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Pistons won the NBA lottery and will have the #1 overall pick in next month's draft. Detroit has the top selection for the first time since 1970 when they took Hall of Fame center Bob Lanier. Oklahoma State guard Cade Cunningham is projected to go first in the draft, which will be held July 29th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Staying in the association, DeAndre Ayton slammed home an alley-oop with less than a second remaining as the Suns stunned the Clippers 104-103 in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Ayton finished with 24 points and 14 boards to help the Suns to a 2-0 series lead. Tonight, the Hawks visit the Bucks for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Tigers beat the St. Louis Cardinals 8-2 last night at Comerica Park. In this afternoon series finale, Matt Manning makes his second start for Detroit while St. Louis counters with John Gant.
You're listening to The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
SpotlightMediaStudios.com.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Alex Heward. And very happy to welcome in, as we do each week at about this time, Tom Lang from Michigan Golf Journal. Does a great job with that publication. And I get that online. Look forward to that every month. Tom, how are you?
Doing great. Busy summer for sure.
Yeah.
I was probably in 5 different cities last week alone.
Well, tell us a little bit about your Sunday.
My Sunday was spent at the Meyer LPGA Classic up in Grand Rapids at Blythefield Country Club.
Okay.
And I tried to focus for my readers on how the Michigan women did. Started out with 6 women, 3 made the cut. And, I mean, everyone knows Nelly Korda won. That's reported by everybody. But
right. A couple of Spartans made the cut.
They did. There was Valerie Plata, the only amateur invited into the field. And so she's the first Michigan State player that got a sponsor's invitation over the years who made the cut.
How did she play? I know the numbers were there, but what did she do well, and what kept her from being even better?
She claims she wasn't putting all that well.
Okay.
But fortunately for her, she was, not hitting pins or super close to them, but enough that she had a lot of medium range putts.
You know, Tom, it's funny, having been in a ton of these golf post-match, post-round pressers, and I don't know whether it's just that is the first thing to go. I don't know whether it's an ego thing with players that they can't say anything else. But most of the time when someone has a round that isn't what they want, it's the putting. They blame the putting, or they talk about their putting. Very seldom do you see someone get up there and say, yeah, I was hitting it in a different zip code.
But most golfers know that all the scoring is from 150 yards in.
That's where the shots are, right?
That is where all your scoring is.
Yeah. Although we saw some shots at the U.S. Open that were crazy. I mean, gallery threatening.
I heard that. Unfortunately, I was so busy all week covering things, I only saw some highlights. I never even really sat down and watched the U.S. Open.
Even tree threatening, bird threatening.
I saw the one that stuck up on the tree. Absolutely.
Yeah, the idea was, guy wanted a birdie, but Mackenzie Hughes should have done it a different way.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So getting back to Valerie, what does this do for her now? Her college career she has another year, right?
She's got at least 2 more years.
2 more.
In part because of the COVID.
Okay. If she chooses to take it, she could be around for a long time.
Exactly. A minimum of 2, maybe 3.
Wow.
We have an interview that I did of her on tape that we can play, and I think she answered that question in the 2.5-minute interview.
All right, great. Alex, you have that queued up. Let's hear from Valerie Plata, Michigan State golfer and the only amateur, and made the cut.
And she is next on her way to the U.S. Women's Amateur.
Nice.
We're here at Blythefield Country Club in Grand Rapids for the final round of the Meyer LPGA Classic. We've got Valerie Plata with us, player at Michigan State, who's doing very, very well, amateur. She was the only amateur invited into the field, and she made the cut. So how are you feeling about all those kinds of things?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. It was kind of like the one thing I wanted to do when I was here besides having fun, and I got to do it. So it's pretty special to be out here, have my family watch me, and my coaches and some of my teammates, and just people out here really just cheering me on.
So your family came all the way up from Columbia to see this?
Yes, they did. They were pretty excited about it, too.
I would think so. Your first LPGA start. Has that all sunk in yet? And you had a lot of attention, if for no other reason, the final round you played with the world number 1. And then, so obviously your scoring was close to hers. And I heard you played with Stacey Lewis yesterday. What can you take from all those kinds of experiences or learn from it for yourself?
Yeah, I don't really think it's quite sunk in yet. It just takes a little while for things to sunk in for me. But it was great to play with people who have won many times here. The number player in the world, it was fun. It was really good to watch lots of good shots and some not very good shots, but how they recover from that was also very, very good to watch.
So even though you might not have had long conversations with any of them, just watching was helping you learn.
Yeah, for sure. I think watching is enough, and they're out here to do their job, so I didn't really want to be in their way and try to force a conversation where it wasn't meant to be.
Okay. I missed your final birdie putt on your last hole. I saw on 17 you were on and putting for eagle. How did you do on both holes?
I was on putting for eagle. I struggled with my putter a little bit today and yesterday, but in 17 hit it by the hole by a lot and then made it coming back. And then on the last hole I did make a good 4-footer, so it was good, a good end note.
You've got a couple more years of eligibility at Michigan State, assuming you play them both. What do you want to try to get out of college the rest of your time at Michigan State?
I think I just want to keep growing, keep getting better. It's kind of what I've been doing the last 3 years, and I think there's a lot of room to grow, so I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Thanks so much for your time. That was Valerie Plata, Michigan State.
Yeah, she sounds so poised, and her English is so good.
Absolutely. I remember we had her on maybe a month or more ago with her coach, Stacy Splodnik-Stoll.
Right.
And Stacy gave us a heads up.
Right.
You won't believe this woman is from South America. She sounds like she's born in America.
No. And she was the one who wouldn't wear the long trousers, right? She had to wear the shorts all the time. You see the team picture.
That's
and it doesn't matter what the weather is.
That's her thing. I don't know why, but that's her thing.
Yeah. And she has had 3 years at Michigan State, so you're right. She would have 2 more with the COVID allowance. So.
Right. And she was a true 17-year-old when she was a freshman at Michigan State.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of the year, not just the first month or two.
Well, she has someone she can follow, and I don't know if you'd say arguably. Maybe it's not that much of an argument. Most accomplished player in Michigan State history, and Sarah Burnham. You can look back at some others who went on and advanced, did some things in the pros, but I think at her pace, what she has done, and she was just in the U.S. Women's Open. We saw her shoot a 67 in round 2, right?
That's correct. Coach Splodnik-Stoll would say that Sarah is her best graduate and player in the program. If people go way back to Michigan State, you had Sue Ertl on the LPGA Tour, making some wins and stuff like that. But yeah, in the last 20 years or so, Sarah definitely is. She's a native of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
She's had her LPGA Tour card at least the last 2 years. She played sporadically the year before that in and off the tour. And again, this is her second or third time at the Meijer. She was invited when she was a senior at Michigan State, and having just won Big Ten Player of the Year 2 years in a row.
Right.
But yeah, we also talked to her off the 18th green, and we've got a tape of that we can cue
and I think you're absolutely right. If you look at their actual LPGA accomplishments, there are some other people you can put into the equation. But for just collegiate accomplishments, it's pretty tough to top two-time Big Ten Player of the Year. But here's Sarah Burnham Sunday in Grand Rapids.
We're here with Sarah Burnham, former Michigan State player, 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year, actually. And Sarah, you had a much better round today probably than the rest of the week here at the Meijer LPGA Classic. Describe it for us, please.
Yeah, it was great. I had some great shots today. Overall, my game is right where it needs to be, and maybe a few more putts could have dropped, but overall I was happy with the round.
You were mentioning earlier that this is the first place you ever played in an LPGA event, and you're back in your second home state, born in Minnesota, but played here at Michigan State. Were all those things just make it more comfortable for you to be out here, and was that part of how you played this week?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know a lot of people from Michigan, so it has a good family vibe still, and my coach from Michigan State was out, and so it was just great to be back here and playing in a familiar place, I guess.
And Hazlitt's Jim Stoll is your caddy, officially all year long. Is that correct at this point in time? How's that working out? Why'd you invite him to be your caddy?
Well, he caddied for me a couple events in the past, like 1 or 2 a year. He kind of just enjoys golf and enjoys being out here. So he said, I think I want to caddy for you the rest of the year if you want me. I was like, yeah, for sure, because we work really well together, and we just have a good relationship.
You had the low round at the U.S. Women's Open a few weeks ago. How did that feel as far as it gave you some momentum? It didn't carry into the weekend, but I'm assuming you weren't horribly disappointed. You played quite well overall there.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was something where everything was just kind of going my way that day, and I was hitting really close to the pins, so making the birdie putts a little bit easier. So yeah, it was great, and then I was like tied 12th, I think, going into the weekend, and I've never been in that position in a major, so definitely some nerves kicked in and stuff, but yeah, the U.S. Open, it was really fun.
So you did feel nerves?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I've just never been in that position, and I think that comes with experience, so just learning from that for maybe next year's event would be great. Yeah.
What's your general assessment of life on tour now? You've been doing it for a couple of years, and I assume you get more relaxed each time, but maybe you feel more pressure. I don't know. So how would you describe life on tour?
It's a little of both. I definitely feel a lot more comfortable out here, but it's still a pressured situation every week. And I mean, I'm on a 7-week grind now, so it's just kind of a lot of travel here and there. So that's why it's just great to be back in Michigan this week for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know what her commercial associations are, what her sponsorship is, Tom? I was looking at something.
She had Ping on the bag.
Okay. I was looking at something with Liz, because we had Liz Nagel on.
Right.
And I know she has an association with A&W.
That's correct. And Rocket Mortgage.
And Rocket Mortgage. Yeah. So I'm always curious as to who is bankrolling these players' travel and paying the caddies.
Yeah, I got a picture of her caddy, Jim Stoll, walking away off of a tee, and she still has a big Spartan head on the bottom part of her bag, where people usually store their golf balls, that kind of thing. But besides that and Ping, I'm not sure who she has without looking again at pictures.
Okay. There's some news for some players, not all players, but in terms of what the USGA is going to allow and a change, right?
If you're talking about green books?
I am.
That's actually a PGA.
Oh, that's a PGA.
Tour,
okay, so I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Not a member of that group.
The player, there's a smaller group of players. They're like an advisory council of 16 players. And people like Rory are on that, Zach Johnson, just to name a few. And they announced about 10, 12 days ago that they're going to recommend to the rest of the PGA Tour board that green books be disallowed starting as early as this coming fall new season.
What's the motivation for that?
I know what my motivation would be. It slows down play.
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
does.
yeah.
To say cheating is not the right word at all, but it seems like part of your ability to play golf should be to read a green without using a book.
Yeah.
It's a talent that's acquired, and I think it's fair that they don't use them, that they're forced to figure it out on their own. And
it does slow down play. There's no question about that. But when you look at the gaps between the groups, it seems like they close it up pretty well.
They do. I mean,
they don't see a hole between groups.
That's true. And there aren't that many violations for shot clock or whatever you want to call it. Right. But again, I think it's as much or more that the players who recommend that we don't use them anymore is because it's yet another skill that players are not required to use, and it can help separate the field for the people who have the extra good talent of reading a green without an aid.
Yeah.
But then a benefit of what these players also think is it would probably speed up play, and the caddies overwhelmingly agree with that.
Yeah. Well, it puts more importance, I guess, on the caddy too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. The 121st U.S. Open at Torrey Pines in San Diego. First of all, let's deal with Torrey Pines. How did it do?
Well, again, like I mentioned a little earlier, I unfortunately was so busy running around Michigan with the Michigan Open, the Meyer LPGA, et cetera. I really didn't watch a lot.
Yeah.
But it definitely proved difficult for a lot of the players. At one point on Sunday, there were 5 players tied for the lead and 5 tied for second place. So 10
players.
10 players within one stroke of each other in the final round. So it definitely, in the end, separated them, even though not by much. I mean, John Rahm only won by 1 stroke, and he did that with 2 consecutive birdies to close it out.
What a putt on 17. Did you see the big bender he had there?
Yep, I did, on replay. Yeah, I did.
I mean, that thing, it had to break 8 feet.
I think it was the same one he had a couple of years ago, too, at one of the regular tour events there. I want to say the Farmers.
Okay.
So he pretty much knew that putt, from what I recall the commentators saying.
Pretty spectacular finish for him. Seemed to be a very popular first-time major winner. I think a lot of people there. Phil Mickelson obviously was there to congratulate him. His brother Tim had been his coach at Arizona State. fellow Sun Devil. And it seemed like a lot of the players like John Rahm.
They do. I mean, I like him. I picked him to win it with some small bets with friends, and I just felt he was ready. I felt he was motivated after what happened to him at the Memorial when they kicked him out or made him stop because of the COVID testing and that
with
kind
the
of thing.
6-shot lead.
Exactly. He's clearly in a zone right now where he's just playing really well. And you're right. He's very likable on tour. You hear nothing but good things from other players about him. He would never get into a Bryson Brooks kind of a feud,
right?
Even if that one's a setup for social media. We don't know that yet. But John's just a really nice guy, very heartfelt. He talked about a journalist who stopped his normal career of covering basketball in Spain, which is very important to them, and started following John around. The guy didn't know anything about golf. But John said, this guy kept me in check. He told me when I was doing things wrong as far as behavior, told me when I was doing the right thing to be a good representative in the sports world.
And he's matured. He had a big-time temper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got that under control. Seems like he's pretty balanced now.
Right. But this journalist actually passed away from COVID about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So John was saying he didn't get to see this major victory for me. I wished he could have. But that's just the kind of guy John has become as he's matured. I think almost anyone, when they have a new child born into their life and become a dad or a mom, I think they instantly start becoming, a little bit more responsible, a little more conservative in some of their the way they act in public and whatnot. And
wife and baby got a lot of airtime.
They did
on NBC.
They did.
Yeah. Louis Oosthuizen looked like he was in position. And then hit a horrific drive on 17 and came back, tried to make it back, but he doesn't hit the ball far enough to drive 18. Really, it was a pretty long odds that he could get that thing close, but he did get a birdie and cut it from a 2-shot deficit to 1. But Louis Oosthuizen's had a couple playoff losses, a couple where it looked like the last 2 he was in position to win. Do you think we will see him win a major? He's 38.
It's a good question. I was down at the at Augusta National the year that he came in second or third at Augusta, and he was just so close but didn't make it. He clearly has talent to play with the field, but I'm really not sure what it is other than shorter length off the tee that's maybe holding him back from getting over that hump.
Well, they've lengthened these courses out about as much as they can at that championship level. And so for some of these guys, if they're going to be hitting 7, 8, 9 wedge into the green and it's a club more for Oosthuizen eventually, it's quite a handicap.
It is. I mean, I remember even in 2012 at the Masters, our local amateur from Alma, Randy Lewis, just didn't have the length with his age. He's an amateur. He was 54 at the time. And he was talking about even then, Augusta was so long, he was hitting 3 hybrids into greens where other guys are hitting 7 or 8 irons. And Augusta's getting lengthened more now that you brought up the topic of length.
Yeah.
I've seen some aerial photographs on Twitter where they're pushing back at least 3 tees to make it even longer. And I'm not sure I like that. I feel, and maybe it's the amateur golfer in me that's talking, that it's not about length to play golf. You can hit it really far, but if you don't have accuracy and you don't have a short game, you're going to be hard-pressed to win.
Yeah, I think that the idea is, especially for a U.S. Open, they don't want somebody 15 under par.
They don't.
And if they didn't extend the length on these courses, these guys would not be hitting driver off the tee. They'd be hitting 3 woods, and they would stay in the fairway more, and they would shoot a lower number, and USGA doesn't like that.
There is some truth to that, but I still think making the fairway skinnier is an easy way to make any golf course hang on and take care of a tournament.
It's an idea. That is an idea. A lot of people have said they have to do something with the ball.
Jack Nicklaus, of course, has been saying that for 25 years, and USGA is not listening. But
well, he did something with the ball. Have you ever hit his Cayman ball?
I have not.
Oh, what a treat that is.
How so?
He took a golf ball, Tom, and reversed the dimples.
Okay.
So instead of the indentations all around the ball, they're nubs that stick out over the ball. And if you hit a drive, it'll come off the tee and look just like a drive, and then it'll kind of parachute to earth at about half the distance, 60%, I would say, of the distance of your normal shot. So it evens it up if you're playing a match with your kid or your wife. And I used to do this quite a bit. I would take a Cayman ball, and it was from the Grand Cayman Islands, and Nicholas had property there, and there was no real estate. So the only thing you could do was shorten the flight of the ball.
Makes sense.
And if you aim at a condo and someone's out in the front and they see where you're lined up, they'll try to, whoa, 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 whoa. And then you can smack it, and it'll go up, and just before it's going to cross the street, it'll parachute to earth.
That's what everyone does when you're playing golf, right? They say, whoa, don't.
They do.
Don't.
Yeah, they do. But it's a ton of fun. And if you can get them, they're hard to find now. For a while, they were more popular. But I still have, I think, one Cayman ball left.
Interesting. When I was a kid, we used the little wiffle golf balls to hit in the backyard.
Yeah, well, this isn't that. I mean, they're real golf balls. They just have an inverted dimple pattern.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the rough, just really quick.
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is 6-inch rough necessarily either.
Yeah.
Even at a place like Augusta, the rough is no more than, what, 1.5 inches on the entire golf course all the way around.
Yeah.
But still from...
But you can shoot 18 under
You
at Augusta.
can, but from a lie like that, you don't get the same backspin as you do from the short grass in the middle of the fairway.
Right.
So that does alter how they're going to attack greens and whatnot, even though 6-inch rough is worse and they might break a wrist. But
whatever they did, I think they set the course up well. It wasn't impossible to make birdies or even an eagle, a couple of spots, but it penalized bad shots. And there weren't that many guys in red numbers. So from that standpoint, I thought it was very well run tournament. I was curious with the ball in the tree, a situation like that. And we talked yesterday to someone who just should have shinnied up. Brendan Quinn said he'd gone up there and tried to hit that thing. And even if the ball was dislodged, that would be a penalty.
I was just going to say, I don't know what the ruling would be.
Yeah,
if you climbed a tree.
It would be a penalty. If you caused the ball.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they would say that the vibration of you shaking the limb would cause the ball to fall out. That is a penalty. But they think about the commercial endorsements with that.
Oh, yeah.
And for Mackenzie Hughes, BQ said if he was a caddy, he would have said, you got to go up and try to hit that. I mean, just think of all the business opportunities you're going to have here.
It would go wild on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be known for that forever. Bryson DeChambeau was in the lead.
He was.
And then he had one of the most miserable back nines in U.S. Open history. And you talk about his maturity, he still doesn't quite get it. And after the round, and he was asked about it, and he was adamant that he just had a couple of bad breaks. Yeah, putting the ball on the tee was his first one that was bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are triple bogeying holes on back nine on Sunday at the U.S. Open, you're imploding. And when someone asked him a question and was hinting at that, and he said, no, I didn't. It wasn't me. I wish I'd been in that media court because I would have probably gotten kicked out. But I would have asked him, pretty good player, but when you shoot what you did on the back nine, if that's not your implosion, what is it?
Yeah. Good question. He obviously finished with a 77 on Sunday, and like you say, that's just not going to get it done.
No. Tom, thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Great that you got those interviews with Valerie Plata and Sarah Burnham from the Meyer tournament in Grand Rapids. And we'll see you again next week. And I want to announce that we have a new sponsor for the long drive, Forest Acres and Golf MSU. Want to thank Forest Acres and Brian Harris, and we're going to have We're going to talk about different aspects of local golf with them each week. Looking forward to that. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Hello, this is Mary Stucco with Education Unfiltered. Education is so important, and it doesn't mean you have to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD. It's really about what is best for you and what you need to take, whether it's a certificate or studying something in the trades or you need an associate's degree to further develop yourself. There's a great opening for people at all ages and at all stages of life who are looking to go back into education and redevelop themselves. Check out my latest podcast with Central Michigan University's Actuarial Science Program. Like and subscribe to Spotlight Podcasts on our YouTube and Facebook pages and watch all my episodes, or you can listen in on your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play by simply searching Education Unfiltered. This is Mary Stucco. See you soon with more conversation on Education Unfiltered.
When it's your moment, that once-in-a-lifetime moment, you don't just want jewelry. You can get that anywhere. You want a memory that will go down in history, your moment. We're Medawar, crafted with exquisite style, quality, and love, so your present will be stunning every time you look at it, every time someone notices it, and they will notice. We've devoted our lives to this art, and we're proud to share it with you. The gift you want to give is here.
Medawar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, Portage, and Brighton.
Live across the Great Lakes State, you're connected to Michigan's most engaging and influential radio and television program, Michigan's Big Show, starring Michael Patrick Shields.
Great to be with you, Michael Patrick. You're the show I would want to be on. Forget those other ones.
Michael Patrick, it's always a pleasure to be on the air with the K&B Airways. Thanks for having me on again.
That's a very good question.
Those are all great questions. Good morning.
Thank you. Michigan's Michael Patrick Shields.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Taylor. Vice President Harris will visit the southern border in El Paso, Texas.
This trip on Friday is part of the coordinated effort.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Harris will be joined by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans have criticized Harris for not visiting the border after President Biden asked her to investigate the root causes of immigration from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Speaking on Fox News, Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz says she isn't even going to the part of the border where the true problem lies.
You need to go to the Donna Tent Facility, which is the tent city your administration has built that is massively over capacity, that has kids in cages.
And President Biden is set to give a major speech today to outline his strategy for keeping the nation safe. This comes as crime has been on the rise over the last 18 months. He'll also host some big city mayors to discuss crime prevention. Lisa Taylor, NBC News Radio.
Michael Patrick Shields here with Matt Rhodes at Dusty's Cellar. 2020's gone. There's some things I won't miss, but there sure are some things here I want to hold on to.
Yeah, as unusual as 2020 was, there'll be one constant for 2021, and that our 6 for 60 Wine Club is going strong and will continue to do so for the upcoming year.
I know you added some options, the Pinot Grigio, the Rosé, Parducci, and all the reds and whites and mixed. Going to do the same this year?
Absolutely. We'll carry on with all the variations of the club we offered this past year, and we'll be looking for more creative new club ideas as the year goes on.
I do like those top shelf, top 100 selections. You have over 100 wines offered at $15 or less, but they're all highly rated by a wine publication. Will you keep that up?
Absolutely. 100 wines, red, white, rosé, dry, sweet, whatever your taste, we'll have a wine for you at $15 or less, a highly rated wine, a great value.
Cheers, and you can join me in the Dusty Cellar 6 for 60 Wine Club. Just pop on dustycellar.com and have a look, or go on into the store on Grand River in Okemos, just a little east of the Meridian Mall.
Cheers, Michael.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Pistons won the NBA lottery and will have the #1 overall pick in next month's draft. Detroit has the top selection for the first time since 1970 when they took Hall of Fame center Bob Lanier. Oklahoma State guard Cade Cunningham is projected to go first in the draft, which will be held July 29th at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Staying in the association, DeAndre Ayton slammed home an alley-oop with less than a second remaining remaining as the Suns stunned the Clippers 104-103 in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Ayton finished with 24 points and 14 boards to help the Suns to a 2-0 series lead. Tonight, the Hawks visit the Bucks for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Tigers beat the St. Louis Cardinals 8-2 last night at Comerica Park. In this afternoon series finale, Matt Manning makes his second start for Detroit, while St. Louis counters with John Gant.
This is it right here.
Combining a team of reporters, columnists, and commentators.
Don't you ever talk about me!
Are you serious? Jack Ebling has brought thought-provoking discussion.
What are you doing?
That's a damn coaching mistake.
Opinion.
The customer is the one who decides when the future gets here.
Oh, no!
The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me? That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done? Crazy cootie coming at you.
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again.
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. All of our Wednesday shows brought to you by Graf of Okemos, Graf Chevrolet, and Graf Nissan. Side by side on West Grand River. 107 years in the automobile business. Stop and see Matt, Mark, and Greg. They'll take great care of you as they have on all 7 of my leases and purchases. Say goodbye to Tom Lang from Michigan Golf Journal and welcome in Jim Stark from the Michigan Sports Legacy Conservancy. He's executive director there. And he is our correspondent for the Pistons and the Tigers, and we're going to get to both of those topics. But
can I start, Jack, with a little bit of Conservancy news, by the way?
Sure.
You always ask.
Yeah.
We have our Legacy Conservancy or Legacy interview program where we do long interviews, life histories or stories from individuals who help make sports legacy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we after a long COVID break.
Yeah.
We got started again last week in recording them. We did 2, right?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, you know very well, Greg Kelser.
Oh.
And John Harrington.
Great.
Yep.
I know them both.
But it was great. Greg Kelser drips class.
Members of the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame.
I
both of them.
know you know this, but
yeah.
He just drips class. And what a he's one of those guys I'd follow anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And John Harrington is all football coach. He can't get it out of his blood. He's retired.
Yeah, he's back.
Right. But he's still assistant coaching now at North Farmington. But he is a football coach till the day he dies.
Yeah.
But we got some great stuff, and we're hoping to make it available via YouTube in the next coming weeks and months.
Great.
Some clips.
Great.
But Greg Kelser had some wonderful comments on social justice, on growing up in the South. Great stuff about magic. Great stuff. So anyways, I just want to share that we did kind of have an announcement to make and share a little bit with you.
They have both been guests on this show many times, and we should have them on again.
Yep. Oh, Greg, I've known him for a long time, but until you spend 2 hours with somebody just chatting, it's a whole different experience. Like if I chat with you for 2 hours, you probably wouldn't want to be with me anymore. But Greg,
that's true.
Greg withstood me for 2 hours.
Well, they withstood the Detroit Pistons not being in the playoffs or winning a playoff game even.
Wow.
Have not won a playoff game since 2008.
Didn't win the one we were at, that's for sure.
No, did not against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now getting ready to play in the Eastern Conference Final. But last night, the Pistons getting the #1 overall selection for the first time since 1970. Bob Lanier from St. Bonaventure.
Pretty good pick.
Not
Hall
bad.
of Famer. Jimmy Walker they got with the first pick. I think it was 67.
That's right.
That's been it. Now, they did have the #2 pick in 66.
That's right.
And that was a pretty good oops, right?
Yes.
They didn't get the guy they wanted.
No, they wanted Cazzie Russell, and it was the first year after the territorial draft.
Right. They couldn't get him as a territorial pick.
Right. So the Knicks won the coin flip.
Right.
And the Knicks said, well, we're going to take Cazzie Russell. And they left New Yorker, Syracuse's Dave Bing, actually
pretty
from
good
Washington,
consolation
D.C.
prize.
Yep.
I mean,
and
Cassie
the Pistons
Russell
said,
was
I guess we'll take Dave Bing. How'd that turn out?
Cassie Russell was a good pro.
Yeah.
Dave Bing was one of the top 50 of all time.
Yeah, Cassie was a sixth man on some championship teams.
Yep.
Was not a.
Yeah, he had a good career.
Yeah,
but
I would say he was around for a decade.
And Dave Bing would give Gregory Kelser a run for his money in terms of dripping class. They would have a lot of class puddles sitting around them if they sat here.
I'll get your take on this because Blaha and I were talking about this the other day. George was on and asked him about his all-time Pistons team.
Ooh, that must have been a good discussion.
And he had his top three in no particular order.
Can I guess them?
Yeah.
Isaiah was one of the three. Dave Bing was one of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, boy, oh boy, I want to say Lanier.
Yes, you're
Those
right.
are his three?
Absolutely
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Absolutely right. And then we tried to fill in the other spots because you've got your backcourt and your center.
Right.
And he had a lot of guys.
Yep.
And going back to, he didn't talk about Dave DeBuscher, but you could have.
Joe?
But the guys that he had talked about, forwards, and starting with Kelly Tripucka, and he was big on Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah. Well, Rasheed Wallace was one of the most talented players ever.
Yeah.
He played at about 10% or 20% of his talent at any given time.
I was going to say
I'm sure you heard
about
that.
60% of his
but
talent. But
much reduced.
Yes.
He was anti-Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace played with 110% of his talent.
And his maverick nature did cost the Pistons a championship.
Yep.
Robert Horry in the corner.
Yes, it did.
But as we had a chance to think more about it, we came up with an all Blaha starting five, which covers a half century. And you had Bing and Isaiah in the backcourt, Babadab at center.
Yep.
And the forwards, Grant Hill and Dennis Rodman.
You can't go wrong.
And Hall of Famers. And if you put that group on the floor, I think they would play so well together.
You think about that. You've got Rodman playing defense.
Yeah.
You've got Bing and Isaiah both.
Two ball handlers.
And Grant Hill was a fabulous player. When he
was
healthy,
healthy, absolutely. People have no idea how good Grant Hill was when he was healthy.
And they didn't get it because he was basically kept under wraps.
Right.
He's a lot like Michael Jordan in college, right?
Yes.
He was kept under wraps.
And he's a lot like Bill Walton as a pro who was phenomenal until he got hurt, and then you didn't see the same Grant Hill.
And even after his ankle injury,
and tried to play with that ankle
injury. He was
injury.
still a top 20 player, right?
Yeah, he was very good.
But he wasn't what he could have been.
No.
Yeah, so I agree. But I'm Blaha is as good a Pistons source as you're going to find, obviously.
Yeah, Isaiah was a 2-pick.
Yes, he was, and of course, going one was
Mark Aguirre,
and of course ended up with the Pistons anyway.
So the Pistons had pretty good luck when you think about the guys we mentioned, from Bing to Isaiah and Grant, but the guy they had as a number 2 pick that didn't work out, some guy named Darko.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Jack, if you remember that, Joe was not the only guy who picked him. He got picked by a lot of people.
Will Robinson.
Yeah. No, but I mean, other teams would have picked him.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't like the Pistons were the only ones to pick him.
No, that's right.
So
that's right.
But you're right. That was one of the great blunders.
Yeah.
Or mispicks, shall we say, of all time.
You wonder how the Pistons franchise would have been different and what that era would have been. Now, they had a long run anyway through 2008, the 6 straight years in the Eastern Conference Finals. But you wonder what it would have been like if they had Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh or Carmelo.
Yeah, it would have been a whole different – they would not have had that dip,
right,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
They would have still been getting good players. They had score – but you know what? I'll still take my 3 World Championships.
Yeah.
And you know what? As far as Georgia's team, you could pick Ben Wallace as one of those starting forwards and never Ben Wallace.
He thought about Bill Laimbeer for a while.
If you had Ben Wallace and Robin in the same lineup,
yeah. Oh yeah, our team would have a real hard time scoring.
Exactly.
Would you like Ben Wallace better than Bill Laimbeer?
Yes.
You do.
Oh yeah. Laimbeer, I never cared for him as a person.
But I mean as a player.
Okay, but Laimbeer always felt entitled.
Yeah. I'm talking as a player.
No,
as a coach.
I'm saying as a player. He felt if he didn't get his shots, he would sulk.
He did an awful lot for those teams, though.
Ben Wallace, not only was he a great defender he'd help everybody else.
Yeah.
You knew when you were playing defense.
Neither one of those guys were as good as Bob Lanier.
Well, yes, right. Bob Lanier was
Ben Wallace
talented.
has the lowest free throw percentage of any player who's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Ben Wallace, only non-drafted player to ever make the Hall of Fame.
And Pistons would not have been what they were or won what they did without him.
And I like to think what would have happened if Bob Lanier and Dave Bing would have stayed healthy and together.
That's right. Yeah, Lanier, I would like to have seen Bob Lanier lose 15 pounds.
Yep.
And,
Well, he was the first, in my mind, one of the first great shooting big men.
Yeah.
Up to that point, you had guys like Wilt was not a great shooter. No. He was a scorer.
He was one of the first truly big men who could shoot 20 feet from the basket.
From the outside, exactly. Yeah. He was a great shooter, not just a great center.
Yeah, absolutely. The number 1 overall pick for the Pistons, when you think it comes on the heels of the acquisition of Jeremy Grant, of the 3 first-round picks, a first-team All-Rookie, second-team All-Rookie, and the guy that they picked before either of them, who was injured for most of the season but showed flashes in Killian Hayes.
May have the highest upside of all of them.
That's right. So now, if you throw the number 1 overall pick, whether that's Cade Cunningham or something else, in that spot, suddenly the Pistons are very viable.
Well, and that's what struck me last night. Watching the drawing, it was almost like Ben Wallace wasn't surprised. He just sat there, and sure enough, he's they're opening those last 2 envelopes, and I wasn't surprised, frankly, because here's the thing, they have done such good work this past year or so.
Yeah.
It's like they're on a roll. And you know how it happens in sports. You get momentum.
Yeah.
The Pistons have momentum.
Yeah, it looks like it. And Troy Weaver in his 1 year has done an awful lot. Although he had nothing to do with this.
No, but let's face it. Sometimes good luck begets good luck. And who knows, with Troy Weaver, he's got such a great attitude. The Pistons, and you know what? The Pistons deserved a break. They have not had a break in a long time.
Yeah.
If you forget, or if you remember, the reason they got number 2 pick with Darko wasn't even their pick. It was somebody else's pick who they traded for who got the second pick. So they got lucky there.
Right.
But since then, they've not had a lot of good luck.
Yeah. So what do you make of Cade Cunningham, and is he the guy?
I'm going to ask you. You're a better college basketball guy than I am. I know what I've been reading. Mm-hmm. I know there's 5 guys and there's everybody else, okay?
Yeah.
Is Cade Cunningham a game changer, a difference maker? Is he the kind of guy that he's undoubtedly the number 1 pick?
Undoubtedly the number 1 pick. He will be the number 1 pick.
No, but if I'm talking about years when you had LeBron.
No, he's not LeBron.
Okay, so he's not the clear. You could make arguments for other guys to be number 1.
You could, but I think 30 teams would take Cade Cunningham because of what.
No, I get that.
The skill set. You're talking about a 6'8" guy who can play the point, who can make shots from distance, who has a clutch gene, does an awful lot of things right.
Who would you compare him to? That's a question I wanted to ask you. Who would you compare him to in terms of skill set and playing style? Is there anybody that comes to your mind? Is it Grant Hill? Is he like a Grant Hill?
Maybe. He's a little bit bigger than Grant Hill.
Yep.
I don't know that he's quite as smooth as Grant Hill was.
He's not physical, though, right?
He could be.
Yep.
I don't think he's had to be. I think he's been a perimeter player mostly, a finesse player mostly. He can get his shot anytime he wants it. He's not particularly fast. You know who I would compare him a little bit to? Because he's not a super athlete, not like a Kobe Bryant. I'd compare him a little bit to a Luka Doncic.
Okay. Well, hey, that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah. I would say in terms of his game, he can do a lot of things. I'll just say that. And I think that he will be the number 1 pick. But if I were Troy Weaver, I would certainly conduct some interviews. I would be talking to Evan Mobley, and I would be talking to Jalen Green. I'd even be talking to Jalen Suggs. But I certainly would kick the tires on those other guys. And this is where a lot of fans are already locked in. Okay, they've already got their playoff tickets. I would entertain the idea of a trade. I wouldn't say I want to trade. I'm very, very, very happy to have the number 1 pick. And if it's Cade Cunningham, then great. Plug him in and let's go. But if I get an offer here that I can't refuse, I'm not going to say I wouldn't trade the pick.
Well, and you and I were talking last night that is it an offer or does he go out and does he solicit some?
Well, you say,
deals?
Hey, anybody wants to talk? Here's my number.
So the first sale sign's not out, but
you're not going to refuse.
He's in
calls.
the garage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was having this conversation with Carlton Valentine, who knows a ton about the NBA with his son playing for the Bulls.
Yep.
And he said if Portland decides they want to give you Damian Lillard, you're going to take him, even with the age difference. If the Sixers decide that this isn't working, they got to break up Embiid and Simmons. Everyone wants them to trade Simmons, but if they trade Embiid, despite the health issues with Joel Embiid, he was a runner-up for MVP, and he's still young enough. He's got a lot of basketball in him. He's maybe as good a player as there is in the league. You got to look at that. If Boston were to say, what about Jason Tatum? Would you like him instead of the number one pick? Cade Cunningham is not a fail-safe can't-miss guy.
He's not a can't-miss.
No, he's not a can't-miss. LeBron was a can't-miss.
Right. And the can't-misses are pretty rare, right?
Yes.
But so he's all right. Well, that answers my one question. But here's the thing. And you said something last night. You said you would only trade down if you stayed in the top 5.
Well, I think there's a difference between the 5. I moved off it a little bit depending on what else would be with that.
Right.
Like let's say you got the 7 pick, but you got another first-rounder and you got an all-star. There's no guarantee that Cade Cunningham's going to be an all-star.
So you want 2 first rounds.
I want 2 first rounds.
With one of them in the top 5.
And an all-star. I would take that.
No, but you want two first-round picks, one of them in the top 5, plus an all. So you want 3 elements to the trade.
Yes,
okay.
or if somebody wanted to give me the number 2 or number 3 pick and
one player.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would look at that too. And I would look at it if you're talking about one of the best players in the NBA, because I think that if you talk about Jason Tatum, would I rather have Jason Tatum or what Cade Cunningham's going to be? I think I'd rather have Jason Tatum. Today.
At 27 or whatever.
No, he's not that old.
Is he not?
No.
Okay. Well, I sent you the trade. What if Golden State?
Maybe he is. 26.
I think he is. What if Golden State gave you number 7 and number 14, and I forget the player that I had mentioned.
You mentioned Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
No, I don't want him.
Okay.
Andrew Wiggins. I don't want him.
Okay. Well, they didn't have a lot of players that
Give me
I liked.
James Wiseman, I'll take.
Well, but isn't Wiseman more of the center?
Yeah.
Okay, but didn't they just get away from that by getting rid of?
He's the number 2 pick in the draft.
No, I know that, but isn't he the center that says people say can't compete and win in the NBA now?
No.
Is he more of an outside?
Last time I looked, last night with less than 1 second to go, DeAndre Ayton dunked the ball for Phoenix to win that game. And he's a center, but he can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
He can step out. A lot of people thought he should have been the number 1 pick.
But can Wiseman step out though? Okay, so he's not Andre Drummond who can't step out.
No.
So, but I wonder why. I don't think Golden State would trade him unless they were in love with Cade Cunningham.
Right, that's the thing.
Right,
They probably wouldn't. They're not trying to trade him.
Right.
They're trying to build around him. He's the future.
I had another trade. What if Orlando? Said we'll give you number 5.
Yeah.
And then they've got another pick. Let's see. It's in the top 20. And then the guy from Michigan. Not the guy with the funny name. You know what I'm thinking of? I had it. I should have brought my notes. He played. He came out early 2 years ago.
No, what I would have done with Orlando if they had not traded Nikola Vucevic to Chicago.
Yep.
I think he's one of the top 10 players in basketball. In fact, his efficiency rating this year was number 3.
Right.
He was only behind Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry. So I would have taken him and that top 5 pick.
Well, I was thinking not Gary Harris doesn't do it for you.
No,
with
no.
Talking
about a star.
And no, well, if you got their number 5 pick, and you got their other pick in the first round, plus you got a player.
Yeah.
Right? Ignis
Gary Harris
Brazdeikis. That's what I was thinking of. Iggy Brazdeikis.
No.
Shot over 40% from 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice.
So none of that.
No.
Okay. So neither one of those trades that I proposed you like.
No.
So is there anybody else? See, I don't think Cleveland.
I don't think there's much difference. Okay, there's a difference, but I don't think it's a tremendous difference between Cade Cunningham and Mobley Green. Sucks.
Okay.
There's a difference. Okay?
So
there's a level there, but it's not a gap, a chasm, like there was.
So why isn't the 5 from Orlando their 15 or whatever it is, and
because the 15 is nothing. It's no guarantee.
And a good young player enough.
And a good young player, I don't know if he's how good a young player he is.
Okay. All right. So the other top teams, Houston, I don't think they're going to trade. They got lucky too, by the way, to get into that top.
That's right.
And then Cleveland and Toronto, I don't see them. Are any of those guys going to be in love with Cade Cunningham? See, the only reason I think you trade with Detroit is if you want Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there'll be a lot of teams that would be in love with Cade Cunningham and would trade.
Would Houston, Cleveland, or Toronto?
The Pistons are going to take Cade Cunningham. Okay, they can put up the smoke screen all they want.
Okay,
and you know why?
Because that's the best value pick.
That's one reason. Give me another one.
Best all-around player?
You know about the business of sports.
Yeah.
He's going to sell tickets.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yep. And they need to draw.
They've just increased the average attendance at Pistons games by 3,000.
If he's not LeBron, why does he sell tickets? What is there about him that's so exciting?
Well, there's a buzz. First of all, remember when the Pistons had that string of sellouts?
Yep. Forever. Yep.
Forever,
yep.
Right? Even though at the end it got a little bit funny.
Little paper.
Yeah. But I think there's a hunger out there for the Pistons to be good. There's excitement there. They can build on it. And I think when you've got a guy and he's considered to be the best, everybody wants the best. It's the star thing, right?
Yeah.
So people have seen Cade Cunningham and can dream about how good he could be.
So he can light it up. He's not just a guy that can do a lot of things well. He can light it up, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he can score 40.
Okay. All right.
Think of Luka Doncic.
Yep. Not flashy, but very, very good.
Yeah, he's a good athlete. He's probably a better athlete than Doncic.
Who's the guy I'm thinking of from Dallas? Played forever. Their big man they won the title with. The German.
Oh, yeah.
Is he remind you of him a little bit?
No.
Okay.
No.
More of an all-around player, ball handler.
He's a guard.
Yes.
He's a 6'8" guard.
Yeah, well, and we had a pretty good 6'8" guard come out of East Lansing a year or two ago.
Yeah, he's not him either.
Right. I get it, but he's something the Pistons haven't had in a long time, if ever. They've never had a big, tall, dominating guard.
Right.
I mean, really, Grant Hill was the closest to that because he handled the ball a lot.
Yeah.
But, okay, Orlando has the 8th pick.
Yeah.
If they gave you 5 and 8 and one of those players.
Maybe. I'd think about that.
Because now you get one of those 5 players.
I would think about that.
A player at 8, you got a good player, and you get one of those young players off their roster.
And now they've got the NBA tryouts.
Yep.
In Chicago, and every team's going to be represented there, so there'll be a lot of casual conversation. And maybe you think that this draft is more than 5 deep. It's a deep draft, but maybe you don't think that fall off comes after 5. Maybe you think it comes after 9. Maybe you think it comes after 2.
Here's why I think he might trade him. His eye for talent is so sharp. He may see the value he gets at, let's say, 5 and 8.
Yeah.
As far greater than the one guy gets at 1.
You know James Edwards from The Athletic. So he was on a podcast last night right after the draft, and he said he thinks the Pistons will take Cade Cunningham, no question. But he also thinks that Troy Weaver really likes Jalen Green. And depending on what he sees and what he hears, and, he has a chance to move. Hey, who knows? Maybe Houston says we got to have Cade Cunningham.
Yep. And Weaver is the kind of guy that will take advantage of that and maximize the return for the Pistons. That's if you look at all his deals this entire last year, every single deal he won. Every deal he won. There wasn't one deal he came out in the short end. And he had those draft picks. Every one of those draft picks was high-value draft picks.
Yeah,
all 4
and sometimes there's a little bit of luck to that, too.
Of course there is.
Jalil Okafor was not.
Well, but he wasn't one of his key players, though. But it cost him nothing, though. If he trades Okafor for anything.
The best thing, 2 best things he did. I mean, Killian Hayes, we don't know yet.
Right.
And Sadiq Bey, that was a gift, landed in their lap. But a lot of people told me that Isaiah Stewart couldn't play.
Right.
Couldn't play.
Smart people, too, right?
Yeah. People know the game.
That's why I got my chips in Weaver's side of the table.
I got to tell you, when he signed Jeremy Grant, for $60 million,
I remember when you told me that.
What are these guys smoking?
You were livid that he didn't give the money to
Denver. Didn't want him,
but to the guy that left for Houston.
Yeah, who's a very good player, Christian Wood.
Christian Wood. You were adamant that money should have gone to him.
Well, they could have got him for 40.
Yeah.
So I said,
remember.
Take that 20 and do something else with it.
Yep.
But they insisted that they were going to spend all this money on these centers. And Plumlee was good. He did
Plumlee
a good job.
was a
for him.
value sign. The value he delivered was far higher than what they had to pay him.
Yeah, so
really, Okafor is the only guy
Yeah.
that wasn't a value signing.
Hey, let's talk for a minute about the Tigers. We have to, because today, their third straight win. They are up to 32-42. They're on a pace to win 70 games,
which would exceed my 68 prediction.
That's right, and would make the over in Vegas a winner, and make some people here at the station, Graham Couch, make them a loser. But when you think about 3 straight wins, bouncing back from getting Ohtani'd out in Anaheim, and then they got that win 5-3. That showed me something on Sunday. And then they come back, and after a day off, they get back-to-back wins over the Cardinals. Cardinals aren't a great team.
But they're a good team,
Good
though.
team.
They're not a bad
They're
team.
a good team. They
Good offense when
probably
it's
won't
going.
make the playoffs, but they'll be a good team. They'll be above 500. So that shows me a lot. So 3 straight wins, and maybe the Tigers are onto something.
Well, and look who won the games. Today was Matt Manning, his first win, I think, if I have that right. Yesterday was Tarek Skubal, who was 1 out from getting the win.
Yeah.
He only pitched 4 2/3 innings,
Yeah.
but his pitch count was 95, but he essentially got the win.
Yeah, I like Tarek Skubal.
And then Casey Mize. So the young guys are delivering.
Yeah.
That's the good news. It's not the retreads that are winning the games. It's the young guys.
Right.
The future.
And Jonathan Scope is on fire.
You asked me about the Tiger All-Star, and I couldn't answer it. It's Jonathan Scope. Right now, he's as hot a hitter as there is in baseball.
So, in light of that,
do
you take this opportunity, because he's never going to be hotter, to move him? They're not going to be in the playoffs, Jim.
I know. You're right.
If you're ever going to do it,
now's the time.
Now's the time.
Because my problem with him is he's 29 years old.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the valuable player in 2 years when they start winning.
Yeah.
Okay? My plan for winning next year obviously has fallen like, the seeds into the wind, but I think you got to maximize his value, and then you got to look at guys like Matthew Boyd. His injury could not have come at a worse time for the trading deadline.
Exactly.
Right? Same thing with Spencer Turnbull. If you ever thought about trading him, you can't now.
Yeah, should have done it before.
So maybe Scoop is the only guy. But I will say this.
Scoop's hitting great.
Yep, right now. Part of the positive of the rebound, and I know you're not going to like me hear you say or me saying this, but you know what? Those 2 of those players out of the Verlander trade are starting to pay some dividends, right? Jake Rogers yesterday had a triple that helped seal the win.
Yeah.
Okay. And Daz Cameron is creating offense, great defense, and hitting home runs. Those 2 players are at least providing some return on investment. But you know what I thought about today?
Yeah.
I want to back up what you say. The Tigers wait too long to bring some guys up. Why did it take so long to get Daz Cameron up? Why did it take so long to get Derek Hill up? These guys are showing they could possibly be contributors at the major league level.
Yeah.
So is that an opportunity, or is that example of the Tigers waiting too long to bring guys up? I thought those 2 examples.
Yeah, I think that they've just been more conservative that way than some organizations. Some maybe err the other way.
I'll tell you one
bring
thing.
Someone up too soon, but I'll take my chances on it.
If you take Baddoo and Daz Cameron and Derek Hill, I like that outfield for the future better than what I saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Best thing they've done, and I don't know whether this is your buddy Al Avila or not, but Akil Baddoo, nobody was beating down the doors to get him.
He was a Rule 5 pick.
Rule 5
guy.
Didn't
play last year.
Yeah. They saw something.
That was a great – whoever made that
there was
pick.
A scout somewhere.
Right. Was a great visionary, because he is on a track to at least be a contributing major league player, and for nothing.
He cooled off after that incredible start, but he still – you could see the speed. You could see some of the other
He's stealing
things
bases.
there. Yep.
And the thing he's improved most of all is his walk-to-strikeout ratio.
Yeah.
He's not hitting the long ball as much,
right?
But he's not striking out as much.
Yeah.
And he could be part of a winning outfield, whether it's a starter or a backup. But so slowly but surely, you're starting to see some pieces come into place. Will Jake Rogers be one of those pieces? I don't know, but I think Daz Cameron.
I think Dingler will take his place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jim, thanks so much. Appreciate you being here. I was going to say it's always good to see you, but that'd be a lie. It's always good to have you on the show.
I'll tell you one thing. We got to start next week. Start talking about sellers and buyers in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
I think the Yankees right now are buyers, but that could change the seller pretty quick.
Yeah, and I also want to say that wasn't that long ago. You asked me about the 4 pro teams.
Yep.
And I had negative confidence, but I had more confidence that the Lions could do it than the others. Now, I think the Pistons.
Without a doubt. With the first overall draft pick, moves them. We should have like a chart here and all the teams kind of in a race.
Yeah.
Right now, that moves them. And the fact that we know their management is so capable, to me, that puts the Pistons ahead of the rest.
We'll be right back, and we're going to talk Stanley Cup playoffs with Neil Kopke and Sean Baligian, Mr. Montreal Canadiens. Very, very happy with what the Habs have done. 5 wins away from giving Canada its first Stanley Cup since 1993. We'll be right back.
Call it a sense of purpose, a higher calling, essential to our children's future. We call it our passion at Dean Transportation. We are a family, hardworking folks who for more than 60 years have connected children to learning, schools to our communities, and you to a better career, pioneering the best in health and safety standards, because it's simply what we do, because safe student transportation has always been essential. Dean is now hiring community-focused individuals for immediate school bus driver, attendant, and mechanic positions for local schools throughout mid-Michigan. To learn more, visit jobs@dean.com/Lansing. Experienced applicants will receive up to a $750 sign-on bonus. For individuals with no prior experience, Dean will pay you to train. Positions may also allow you to start and stop work from local parking locations or your home throughout mid-Michigan. If you're looking to make the community a better place, we'll put you in the driver's seat. Join the Dean Transportation family today at jobs@dean.com/Lansing.
Welcome to Be the Referee with veteran MHSAA official Sam Davis.
One of the long-term strategies in the game of football is deception. It has a lot of other names and most often goes these days by the name of trickery. Catching an opponent off guard can break a game wide open, but catching the officiating crew off guard is something you don't want to have happen, or else your big play may be blown dead inadvertently. That's why during the pregame meeting the officiating crew has with each head coach, one of the questions that will be asked is, Coach, do you have any trick plays that we should be watching for? And coaches, who are usually tight-lipped about a lot of their strategies, will be very open and describe in detail anything fancy that's in the playbook for that game. This type of communication gets coaches and officials on the same page and ensures that when trickery comes visiting, only the opponents are surprised.
Thanks, Sam. You can be a referee. Go online now to MHSAA.com to register. Be the Referee is a production of the MHSAA Network.
Thinking of a new air conditioning unit for your home? Hi, Peggy Doty with Doty Mechanical. A new Carrier high-efficiency AC unit will lower your energy usage and increase your home comfort. Current Carrier Cool Cash offers and available utility rebates mean your savings have never been better.
Call Doty Mechanical today at 327-7777 or visit us at dotymechanical.com for your free estimate. For heating and cooling, the names to know, Doty Mechanical and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Live across the Great Lakes State, you're connected to Michigan's most engaging and influential radio and television program, Michigan's Big Show, starring Michael Patrick Shields.
Great to be with you, Michael Patrick. You're the show I would want to be on. Forget those other ones.
Michael Patrick, it's always a pleasure to be on the air with the King of the Airwaves. Thanks for having me on again.
That's a very good question.
Those are all great questions. Good morning.
Thank you. Michigan's Michael Patrick Shields.
The White House admits it may not reach President Biden's goal of getting 70% of the adult population partially vaccinated against COVID-19 by July 4th. Meantime, Dr. Anthony Fauci is sounding the alarm over the rise of the Delta variant.
The Delta variant is currently the greatest threat in the U.S. to our attempt to eliminate COVID-19.
Dr. Fauci says 20% of all new cases in the U.S. are from the variant first found in India. That's double the rate from around 2 weeks ago. It's been a month since the FDA cleared the COVID vaccine for teenagers, yet most are remaining on the sidelines. 14-year-old Angelina Allegrini got the shot, and she says the key to vaccine outreach among kids her age is social media.
Social media probably is a big influencer.
Health updates, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
You're listening to The Drive with Jack Ebling.
You want to win, don't you?
Well, I think I'd really rather try to beat him honestly.
SpotlightMediaStudios.com.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Appreciate all of our guests today. And we've talked basketball, we've talked golf, we've talked baseball. We've been all over the place. And we can't forget the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I think might be the most riveting, compelling sports activity we have, and certainly this time of year. Tons of fun to watch, even when you get an 8-0 game and a 4-1 game. Don't sound that close, but it was pretty riveting last night to see the reaction in Las Vegas. And fans there thought the Golden Knights were headed for the Stanley Cup Finals. Still might be, but they're going to have to beat Montreal in Game 6 and Game 7. Want to welcome in Neil Kopke, longtime State of Michigan sports writer. He is my Human Hockey website and columnist for MSUSpartans.com. How are you, Neil?
I'm pretty good, Jack. Just like you said, riveting watching the Stanley Cup playoffs and shocked at what we're seeing by the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, who could have anticipated this from a team that had 59 points in the regular season? And you thought, well, okay, that might get knocked out in the first round. And then when they're down 3-1 to your Maple Leafs, I thought, well, that was a cute little story. And and get the win there. And then going up against Vegas, a team that got by Colorado, and you said, okay, well, they're clearly the best left over in that area. And here come the Canadiens. And the road team has won 3 of the 5 games thus far, and I'm wondering whether Montreal can overcome the home ice disadvantage in Game 6. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, well, that's what the Golden Knights are hoping for, the continuation of the road success that teams are having and so forth. And yet, in this series, Jack, you just can't predict it. Just when you thought after the Vegas Golden Knights tied the series and we're going back home with 18,000 fans, and you thought the cream's going to rise to the top because the Golden Knights are the better team overall. Just think, Jack, they finished with the best record in the NHL, tied with Colorado, 82 points. And yet here come the Canadiens that put on a clinic, and a lot of people that have watched the Canadiens all season are saying that was the best game the Montreal Canadiens played all season long. And they were actually challenged by the Golden Knights, even when it was 3-0. They never stopped pushing back, and they had to play right to the end until the empty net goal sealed it. So credit to the Canadiens, but, geez, this is an amazing run by a team that, Jack, if the Calgary Flames had beaten the Ottawa Senators 2 more games twice in the regular season, the Canadiens would not even be in the playoffs. And yet here they are, one step away from the Stanley Cup final.
Well, it will be one of the great championships in any of the 4 major professional sports if the Habs can win 5 more games. And we want to welcome in a guy who will be pulling for them to do exactly that. Alex, when you couldn't get Sean on your first call, you know what I thought? He's still partying. From last night, Sean Baligian joins us, and one of Michigan's most versatile radio voices, does a great job for WJR. Sean, what were you expecting going into that game last night in Vegas?
I'll echo what said.
losing Game 4, the way they lost Game 4 was a dagger, and the cute little run was over. And I'll also echo what he said. As somebody who literally watched every one of their games this year, the first 40 minutes were an absolute clinic last night. I mean, it was incredible. And you know what? About 5 minutes to go in the second period, I'm watching this game, and I'm literally saying to myself, is the better team winning right now? Because it was so thorough, and the Knights looked like they were waving the white flag. I mean, the Habs had a lot of speed, and the Knights weren't dealing with it real well. But give credit to Pete DeBoer and the guys for coming out and having the type of third period that they did. It's been, I mean, just a silly run. There's no other way to say it. And it's funny. I remember talking to you guys last week or whenever it was, and I think we were still talking in terms of fluke, right?
Yeah.
Honest question: at what point in time do we go, "Wow, this isn't a fluke"?
We're there.
I mean, they're getting it done right now. It's insane, and I'm still not willing to say that they're going to win the series. I'm not willing to say that right now, but it's crazy. They've been on quite the run for about a month now, really.
Yeah. Truth be told, guys, I watched the NBA draft lottery at 8:30. And then I switched over and I watched the first two periods of the hockey, and I said, well, the Canadians have got this. They're going to have a complete collapse. And then I went back and watched the end of the basketball game, and you get a game decided on a dunk with less than a second to go. That's pretty riveting, too. But as I turned back to the hockey and watched what I had missed, the Canadians playing with a lot of confidence. They don't seem intimidated by anything, Sean.
No, they're not right now. It really is across the board.
How much of that is Carey Price?
Oh, a huge amount is Carey Price. But you know what? I don't think we can say enough about these kids. And I get it. A lot of people want to talk about Cole Caulfield, and I think that Cole Caulfield has the higher ceiling when all is said and done. I love Nick Suzuki, and people forget he's only 21 years old. Right. He was, in my opinion, outside of Carey Price, the best player on the ice last night. He was phenomenal. I mean, and he did all the little things. Forget about the points. He just did so many little things. He really played a complete game last night. And I think that kind of stuff is contagious. And the guys kind of feed off of each other, especially in the game of hockey. And, they're rolling right now, and it's amazing to watch. It really is.
Neil, I want to talk about Jeff Petrie and what he does for Montreal, and he's a rock back there. He's an anchor on the blue line. Does he remind you of any players maybe advanced in their career, and some people maybe had written him off or thought we'd seen his best hockey? But he sure adds a lot to that team.
He sure does, and he's come a long way since he was traded by the Edmonton Oilers, who gave up on him after a few years of being inconsistent and just being not the guy maybe they hoped. And then he found his niche in Montreal, and he basically has become one of the best defensemen in the NHL. And probably early in the season, like in February, March, he was being touted as maybe a candidate for the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman.
Yeah.
Now, there's certainly a lot of great defensemen in the league, but even to be mentioned for that because of what he did, offense, defense, and I started watching him, Jack, early in the season, and I said, why didn't I pick him for my fantasy team? Because all he does is score goals and set up goals.
Right.
And I had picked Torrey Krug, who didn't have the great season in St. Louis, but I'm watching Petrie. And Audrey Dahlgren, I believe, picked Petrie, and I'm thinking, why didn't I pick him right there? I could have had both maybe. And instead, I'm like, flailing in my league, and Petrie could have helped. But again, he probably reminds me a little bit of a right-hand Nick Lidstrom in the sense that he's not exceptionally physical, but he's so good with his hands and clearing the puck and setting up plays, and he probably is a little more better than Lidstrom was offensively with a nice shot, as Danny Gallivan would say, a candidating shot from the right point.
Right.
And it's enjoyable to watch him. And it's enjoyable to listen to some of the commentators talk about his dad, the influence he had as an athlete, and I got to know Dan Petrie just a little bit here, And I love the way Dan Petrie just stayed out of the way and said, I know nothing about hockey. The coaches have carte blanche to do. I'm just a dad along for the ride. And such a great story for a kid that, was a very good college player, but has become an exceptional NHL player.
I love these guys who get a second career, or in some cases maybe better than their first career. But Sean, I want to give you a parallel that I had, and I could be way off on this, but when you hear the name Larry, I know you're going to think of Larry Robinson. I don't want you to get so excited you're going to drive off the road, but it reminded me a little bit about Larry Murphy. And, he came to the Red Wings late in his career, and people said, too slow, he can do this, can't do that. Everyone saw things he couldn't do. Sure played a lot of winning hockey.
Well, I think that's a really good point. Jack, people forget what an exceptional defenseman Larry Murphy was. And then he went to Toronto, and people thought it fit hand in glove. And Neil can tell you this better than I can. He was booed on a nightly basis unmercifully. I mean, it just didn't work there. And I think they asked him to come to Detroit. He didn't have to be anything special. He had to be part of a group-like committee and everything, and it worked out well. And I think the same thing, words I never thought would come out of my mouth. I agreed with a point that Pierre Maguire made last night. Pierre, when talking about, the development of Edmondson, he was saying, hey, he's worked with some great guys, and playing with a guy like Petrie isn't a bad thing. Petrie is one of those guys right now. He's making guys around him better, and I think his defense partner would be the first guy to say it.
Yeah. Sean, I want to start with you on this one, but if the Canadians can finish this job and win one of the next two, you'd like to think that maybe they could do it at home, even though the home teams have struggled in the series. And then win one more series and give Canada its first cup since 1993. Would that be the all-time sports accomplishment north of the border?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't know how you could say no. I mean, honestly, especially in this year with this team, that I cannot stress to you enough how bad they were down the stretch. They backed into the playoffs something fierce. There's no other way to say that. So, to knock off in succession, the team that had the best record in the league along with the Colorado Avalanche, and then knock off who I think is everybody's favorite right now, and they might have the best goalie in the world with a tip of the cap to Carey Price and Vasilevsky. It would be an incredible story, It would go up there with just about anything as far as I'm concerned.
Neil, I want to talk about the true north, strong and free here. And when you think about Canada and all the provinces pulling together, but especially in the Toronto area now, are Leafs fans into the nationalism, or they just hate this? This is like the most miserable thing. They want the Canadians to lose.
Exactly. It is miserable. It is like Red Sox fans watching the Yankees or vice versa. It is no way. Now, you could have some pockets of fans in the West here and there that are like, yeah, I'm over the nationalistic, where I have to root for Winnipeg or Edmonton. There's not that animosity. But yes, the Toronto fans are hoping anybody wins this thing except the Montreal Canadiens. And yet, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, the more and more I watch the Canadians and I see how they're doing it against the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm actually turning my loyalties here and thinking, you know what? I did want Vegas because I thought they'd be a good representative in the finals. But now as I look and see how inept in some ways they are, they've not scored a power play goal, Jack. They also have only 2 goals from their forwards. Right. Mark Stone, their best player offensively, doesn't even have a point. And so I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe it's good that the Canadians win and get in the finals, because that will give Canada, at least parts of Canada, something. And also, Canada versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they do indeed make it, I can't lose there, because the Canadians would be a great story, and John Cooper and the Lightning would be a good story for me too. So I would probably watch that series thinking, you know what, this probably could go either way, and I wouldn't be unhappy with either ending. So that's what we've come to. I'm off the Golden Knights, and maybe I'll bring out my Montreal Canadiens jersey I've had since 1964 and wear it for Game 6. How's that?
No number on it, I'm guessing, like the sweater, huh?
No, there's a number on it. It's a 1.
No name, excuse me. Yeah.
So I was Jacques Plante or Charlie Hodge or you name it. But
oh, that's great. That's great.
Neil, I was going to say you have covered teams that would score a power play goal once a month.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is all the same thing for me, watching the Knights and watching Michigan State try to score goals. Although during the season, the Knights did a good job. The playoffs, not so much.
Yeah. Sean, what happens in Game 6?
I think the Habs are going to win. I really do, Jack. Taking this series in as a whole, I think the last time that we chatted, we all kind of agreed that, okay, Game 4, this is game, set, match, and the Habs coming out and playing the way they did and getting the jump that they did, it said a lot to me. And Neil, I think you're making some astute points. You are really seeing the shortcomings of the Vegas Knights. The Habs coaching staff and, first Don Ducharme and now Luke Richardson are doing a good job of exploiting them in many different ways. The speed differential right now is insane. And those are words that I didn't think would come out of my mouth. They started to go to the track meet yesterday, midway through the second period, and it was night and day. The Habs were all over them, and I haven't felt this way the entire playoff. So, of course, that means I'm going to be wrong now. But for the first time, I'm looking at it, and I'm going, nah, this is legitimate. And you know what? I think they're going to take care of business.
Sean, what kind of odds could the three of us have gotten if we had gone to Vegas, if we'd just gone to our apps for William Hill or PointsBet or whatever, and we'd said in the name a bet, we want to take Tampa Bay and they're going to win by more than 7 goals.
Oh,
and then we're going to come back the next night on the road. We're going to take the Canadiens and we're going to give you 2. They'll win by 3 or more. Where would we be living now?
Well, maybe like the 500-1 bet of the Habs going to the finals. Honestly, that was it was great. I'll go back to that game the other night. That was just one of those nights where once it started to rain, it started to pour, and I thought that Barry Trotz kept it in perspective. He said, "Look, we turn the puck over, and when you turn the puck over against a good team, it's going to end up in the back of your net. They're going to respond. I'm not sure they're going to win, but they're going to respond."
Yeah, I love Barry Trotz's comment, Neil, after the game where he starts with, "We didn't play our best game." You think?
With a burst of understatement, exactly.
Yeah. What happens in that one, Neil? Do the Islanders back at the Coliseum send it to a Game 7?
I'm thinking that they're going to play a pretty solid game close. It won't be like the other game, but I think this is it for the Islanders, and I think Tampa Bay, the way Point is playing, the way Kucherov, that is a monster team. Completely opposite of what Vegas is doing in terms of their scoring. Their power play is like at 37% or whatever. It's amazing. So if the Islanders don't stay on the penalty box, it could be a quick night. But I will say a close game, and I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win it. But if not, hey, we'll have on Friday a Game 7.
Game 7.
What more can you want than that?
Yeah, and maybe that will extend to the winner a little bit. And if the Canadians win on Thursday night, right, then they have an extra day of rest.
They get some rest before the final, right?
Yeah. Sean, I thought maybe the way he is scoring, Braden Point should change his name to Braden Goal.
Yeah, you know what? It starts with the work that Steve Yzerman did with that team. And I don't want to completely disrespect Julien Brisebois either, because Brisebois made some, key signings to that team after Steve left that helped. But, let's face it, that guy built a fantastic machine that has been in the mix now for a few years. And that's exactly, what he's trying to do in Detroit. And he said as much. I go back to the inaugural press conference where he told everybody, guys, I'm asking you to be patient. This is going to take a while. The rule of thumb is kind of a 5-year plan, and I don't even think the Red Wings are halfway through it right now. Yeah. They really had to do something about the depth organizationally, not just with the Red Wings, organizationally, and that's what they're working on right now.
So if the Canadians finish off Vegas and then beat probably Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup final, Sean, are you going up to Montreal for victory celebration?
You know, we were having that conversation. I allowed my kids to have that conversation with me last night for the first time. That's just been, they started to talk about, no, and I stopped them and everything. And they said, Dad, can we go up there and everything? I said, if we can make it over, we'll make it over. And we'll find a way to get there. You know, I actually saw them win the Cup in '93, which was awesome.
Did you really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I did. It was June the 9th, 1993. I was there, and the craziest thing was watching. It was like you were living in a movie when the riot started. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But the kids are yanking on me, saying, Dad, we got to go up there. So we'll see if we can find a way. But you know, that pesky border might interfere with our problem.
Sean, you got a better chance of doing that than Neil does of attending the Maple Leafs victory party.
Oh, more from a cheerful party, a drunk party. Wait till next year party.
Thank you both, gentlemen. That was a lot of fun. I also want to thank Carlton Valentine for talking NBA with us, Tom Lang for The Long Drive, brought to you by Forest Acres, and Sarah Burnham and Valerie Plata, and Jim Stark in studio. Have a great night, everyone.